Well, hello, guys. Welcome to the show. We have a very special interview for you. I am sitting here with Peter Gillooly from the Wellness Company, and we are going to be talking about the Wellness Company and what they do and all of that good stuff. So thank you for joining me. Welcome to the
Thanks for having me, Elsa.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into it. So tell me about you and how you got involved in the Wellness Company. And then, of course, we'll talk about what the Wellness Company is and what you do there.
Yeah, so like so many of us, Elsa, I was not really involved in the health and wellness space prior to COVID. I was always interested in fitness and keeping myself in shape. I had a daughter 2 years before COVID, so I started paying a little bit more attention to my body and trying to keep myself healthy and strong. But then COVID hit. My wife was an RN. She was
Mhm.
relaying all these horror stories that she was experiencing in the med surg floor in the hospital with the mask mandates and stacking people up and overwhelming the staff with multiple bed responsibilities, and then ultimately the vaccine mandates. And at that point, I was kind of an entrepreneur. I said, look, like this is a big problem, and no one's really stepping up to start putting together solutions for us, right? And they're taking away our God-given rights, access to medication that everybody should have. It all just stunk to high heaven to me. So I kind of made a commitment to myself and my family that I wanted to be a positive change. And that's why I found the Wellness Company. I joined with our founder, Foster Colson, and we created this business to really enact the healthcare and wellness system that we wish we had when COVID came around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did not realize that your wife was on the front lines like that. And and I do have nursing friends who experience the same things that she had to have gone through. And it is heartbreaking, to know what they experienced and what they had to deal with, and particularly the families and these patients who are being separated from their families, and they're the ones delivering this news and being the intermediate person. I mean, what a devastating position to be in, and then to see things that are going on. So I would imagine she obviously had a firsthand view of the possible mismanagement of COVID. I mean, so if you could walk me through that a little bit in what she was seeing, and if things even that early on were not making sense to her. Was that an issue already?
It 100% was an issue, Elsa. I mean, we saw a complete failure in medical ethics, in my opinion, at the
Yeah.
start of COVID, right? We were turning away sick people because they were not sick enough from our hospitals. And look, we're talking about our most vulnerable people, right? I mean, the elderly, the pregnant, these are people who need to get our top attention as soon as they have an issue. And they were being sent home and told to come back when they were, so sick that they need to be put on a ventilator. Right. I mean, that's completely backwards with how medicine should be practiced. At the same
Mhm.
time, we were enforcing these mask mandates, which, it's funny. It's like a exercise in lemmings, right? I mean, no, everybody knew they don't work, but we
Right.
still did it. I mean, we joke, the surgeons who actually wear masks because not for viruses. They wear masks because they don't want blood splatter to get in their mouth if they're operating on a patient, right? I mean, that's what they're for. They're not meant to filter out these infinitesimally small particles. And
Mhm.
then, the hospital staffing problems have just gotten worse and continued to get worse because the medical system has driven out so many of the most committed employees due to cutting costs and these other practices that aren't putting the patients first and are basically snowballing into a bigger problem that's becoming more dangerous for patients. I mean, you had a nurse that was looking after 4 beds. Now they're doing 8. It's not sustainable. It's not
No.
safe. I mean, I would not want to be in a hospital if I'm getting, an eighth of the attention of a nurse. It's crazy.
Right. And we've heard at this point, we've heard all of the horror stories, all the heartbreaking stories, infuriating stories that revolve around masking and revolve around care, the actual care procedures for people with COVID, and the, inconsistencies and the things that simply didn't make sense. And, particularly with the masks, and we're talking about people who actually knew better, people in the medical profession who knew better, and who still were, I would say in most cases, essentially forced to go along with these protocols, which is, coming from obviously much higher up the political sphere. So you have, politics essentially dictating what hospital staffing does with their patients and their staff. And it's so crazy to me. And like you said the lemmings, and that we all just, and I know there's plenty of people, I don't want to lump everybody together like that. Lots of people that said absolutely not very early on from the beginning, saw the red flags and said, no, 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 this doesn't make any sense. But it's so amazing to me that now here we are in 2024, you have Dr. Fauci coming right out and saying, yeah, the masks, where we don't know where that came from. We just kind of in this 6 foot distance. Yeah, we just kind of made that up. And still today, I see, and I'm sure you see it too, people walking around with masks, these paper or cloth masks on their face. And that is how terribly they've changed the psyche of people. Like they've just scared them into such a place of submission and fear, existing in fear of something that, most people recover from technically, right?
Well, and this is how freedoms are lost, Elsa, right? It's not that they march in and take everything right away. They chip away, you give them an inch, you give them an inch, and then you wake up one day and there's nothing left to give. And
Mhm.
that's really what I think they proved to at least me during COVID. It's that they can manipulate the public in subtle ways under the guise of safety and health and well-being to let go of the freedoms that we all enjoyed that are really there for our protection,
Mhm.
and take them all away. And we still to this day see people walking around in airports with these masks on. And I mean, they just, I don't know if it's virtue signaling or what at this point, but they look like clowns. And
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what they're really trying to solve with that. But be it as it may, I really think that the healthcare system now has proven itself to be one that's very reactive. It's one that doesn't doesn't really help you plan for a better, healthier life. It just waits until you get sick and then tries to treat the symptoms and not the underlying cause. And that's really part of the ethos that we're trying to change with the wellness company. And that's what we saw during COVID. And the silver lining is there's so many people like you and your audience that saw what was going on during COVID and woke up and decided to take their health and their independence even more seriously than they did before.
Yes, absolutely. And like you said, this is where the wellness company comes in, and you have it. There is really an incredibly extensive line of what you offer to people in preventative, in overall care, just health and wellness. So let's talk a little bit about exactly that, what the wellness company offers for people.
Yeah, well, we're all about the medicine your old doctor won't tell you about, right? And we heard a little bit about that during COVID. When ivermectin first was um, uh, highlighted as a potentially effective treatment for COVID, as well as hydroxychloroquine, which were immediately
Immediately.
shamed and demonized and mocked by the FDA and the government in order to
Mhm.
push the shots. We're all about giving patients the education and access to these types of medications. And look, the other thing the wellness company represents is that, you know, prescriptions are one tool that we have in the toolbox, but they're not the only tool, despite what the mainstream medical establishment will tell you, right? So
Right.
there's a time and place for them, but there's
Mhm.
also tons of naturopathic solutions that are way more safe and also extremely effective at treating diseases. And Dr. Peter McCullough, who's our chief scientific officer, it's been amazing working with him these last few years. He comes from that traditional allopathic world. I would say right now in his private practice, which he still does for over 30 hours a week, which blows my mind, he probably gives more naturopathic solutions to patients
Mhm.
now than he does prescriptions. I'll let him attest to the actual breakdown there, but he's really, it's opened his eyes, and I think all of our doctors' eyes, that there's a whole universe of solutions out there that we all should be taking on a day-to-day basis to solve a litany of health problems, not just COVID related. And we're all
Mhm.
about identifying those solutions and bringing them to customers in a way that's going to work to their best health.
I love that. And, I especially love that this is not a big pharma, organization that is just there for the dollars, just there to, give you whatever, God knows what. And that really ultimately makes you more sick more dependent on synthetic fake medicines. We put air quotes on that stuff all the time because of, how people are really feeling and how they're actually doing from all this. And this is such a great practical, sensible alternative to that. And I love the preventative nature. I guess not even necessarily just preventative, just simply healthy, just good choices, things that your body needs. And tell me a little bit more, like what if there is a particular, if there's like a must have, what's the must have that everyone should have in their arsenal, in their medicine cabinet?
Yeah, there's a couple things. So, our most popular selling products today are medical emergency kits. So, we
Mhm.
offer a variety of options there, but our top selling one is our blue, just basic medical emergency kit. It has emergency antibiotics like amoxicillin and Z-Pak and ivermectin in there. And it treats 30 different kind of common medical conditions from the benign tick bites all the way up to like anthrax and bioterror, right?
Mhm.
And I really do believe strongly that it is a God-given right to have access to these medications. Like, why wouldn't you want to have them on hand? Like, most Americans already stockpile food and ammo and gold and water. Like,
Mhm.
why did we forget about medicine when we were doing our planning? And I think that right now, there's no excuse not to have that. And I'm not here to fearmonger or anything like that, but I sleep better at night knowing that under my sink, I have a medical emergency kit because look, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I mean, you're always going to have something unexpected pop up. And we just
Right.
want you to be prepared and ready to go, just like you would be with, food or these other necessities that you keep in your home. So we've had a tremendous response to our medical emergency kits. And I think even the best responses of people who've actually had to use them and have had great
Mm.
success. We give you a full guidebook. It's a 30 something pages written by our doctors about how to diagnose, how to dose, how to safely use the medications. And if you still want to talk to a doctor, we operate a 50 state telemedicine practice. So you can talk to a doctor who shares your values and can say, okay, great, you have ivermectin on hand. Here's how you dose it based on your weight and can walk you through that step by step.
I tell you, in this day and age where most of us, including myself, are truly deeply mistrustful of the modern medicine and certainly our government and all of those things, this is like a godsend. I mean, I really think it is. It's something that you feel safe using. You have the resources there available to us. We don't feel like we're getting conned. Like these are all things that have long term proof in effectiveness. So it's just incredible to me. And I know it's funny. I've talked about this a lot lately with my following and family and friends. About this need for preparedness. And boy, did you hit it when you said, so many of us prepare with food, with supplies and things like that. But we kind of forget that aspect of it, that you're not likely going to have, or you should be prepared for, because it's so hard to imagine, in the world that we live in. We're in the United States of America. We're like, well, this will never happen to us. We're never going to have a grid out. We're never going to lose our power source. These things aren't going to happen. It's America. Yeah, no, it absolutely can happen. And I would rather be prepared for the impossible than not prepared for the inevitable, and it's just incredible what you guys
Yeah.
offer. And you have other kits too. There's like three or four. Is there four different kits?
Yeah, we have four different varieties right now.
Okay.
So we have the medical emergency kit. We have a contagion kit, which is very heavily geared on COVID and respiratory viruses. That has
Mhm.
hydroxychloroquine, Tamiflu, budesonide. We have a traveler's kit, which has solutions for common travel ailments like food poisoning and infections. And we have an emergency first aid kit, which actually next week, by the time most of your listeners might hear this, we'll actually be adding an EpiPen to that one, which is something that we've got a lot of requests for.
Wow.
And it's really important too. And I think this is a good thing to note to the listeners. The best way to treat anything, in our opinions, is early intervention, right? And I think we saw this during COVID, and I kind of alluded to it earlier. But when you get sick, you don't want to wait until you're so sick that you have to go to the ER, right?
Right.
Like the second you start feeling ill, that's when you want to start treating yourself because that's going to allow you to pull out of that sickness the quickest and with the least amount of distress. So many
Hmm.
people get sick and they're like, I don't feel so good. I'm going to go lay down for a couple days. And then, rather than getting better, you're laid out for a week feeling awful when you should have really started treating it at the moment of symptoms. So
Right.
that's really kind of what we're also trying to prepare people for it. And look, if you use the kit, no problem. We'll help you with a refill, right? I mean, we're there to
Mhm.
kind of back you guys up. And I think if you look at just the economics of it, Elsa, it is so much cheaper to declare your independence from the insurance industry, which is probably the biggest scam that's been ever foisted on the American people,
Yes.
than to invest right now in a kit for yourself. I mean, you will save so much money. And look, most Americans are spending north of $8,000 a year for a single adult on
Mhm.
insurance, and all you're getting is high deductibles and one 10-minute physical a year, right? I mean, that's it,
Right.
right? I
Right.
mean, go go get outside of that system and start taking your health into your own hands. It's a
Yeah.
no-brainer in my opinion.
It really is. It really is. And again, we're in a day and age where we're told constantly that you have to be your own advocate when you're going to these, doctors and all of these things. And I mean, this is the best way to be your own advocate, really. So instead of like paying your insurance company and your deductibles and the doctors, and doing all of these things, you're skipping all of these steps because you have, like you said, you have the telemedicine availability, so you have access to medical professionals. You have the tools on hand to feel better, almost immediately, basically, or start the process of feeling better immediately. There you have them. You don't have to worry about them not being in stock or not available, or any of those things. I mean, I think this is so life changing for people, and like you said, giving us back the power over our own health is just incredible to me. And I love that you guys are doing this now. I would imagine that you guys are growing quite a bit. Since you started, what does the future look like for the wellness company?
Yeah, so my goal for the wellness company is to be a kind of full alternative to the traditional medical system, right? And what
Mhm.
does that mean, right? So that means that I'll have to provide coverage for emergency situations. Right now, you break an arm, I can't help you. I don't operate a clinic. I don't have anything like that. So I want to provide a solution to customers that do have emergency care needs that they can then rely on us to do that
Mhm.
and do it in a cheaper way again to what they might have already experienced through their insurance companies. And I also want to provide a physical location. I think there's so many different solutions out there for health and wellness that the mainstream medical system completely ignores and disregards that offer real, true value. And I'm not just talking, diet and lifestyle changes. I'm talking about things like IV therapy, things like hyperbaric chambers. There's so many very, very valuable types of therapies that, in my opinion, everybody should be accessing, just like you get your oil change in your car. I mean, you'll feel so much better and it heals your body in so many different ways that you're just not going to get, through your ordinary daily course of living. So I really want to be that full stop shop that you can go to and find everything you need to health and wellness, or maybe go visit us in one of our centers in your town. We are big on education, and we really believe in empowerment, and access to knowledge is really going to help change it. Even if we don't have the solution, we want people to know. So we write extensively about current events. So we've been all over this bird flu outbreak that probably your audience has seen in the news. We talk about that on a weekly basis right now. We do education about different naturopathic and pharmaceutical substances. Sign up for our newsletter. You'll get all this information every single week, as well as you'll get interviews with our doctors, and you can kind of hear what they're saying live in real time.
That is absolutely fantastic. Peter Gillooly, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing this information with my viewers and with me. I love learning more about this, and it's everything that it looked like it to be. You know what I mean? When I read the information and looked it all up and started doing my research, I was like, this is so amazing. And then, because we're all cynics now, or I think we're just all realists now. Cynics is too mean. We're realists now. Your first thought is this too good to be true? It's not a case of good to be true. This is true, legitimate medicine, healthcare, wellness, everything. And I'm excited to see how this grows and how much more you offer as an alternative to what we've known traditionally and what hasn't been working for most people, long term or even short term. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Elsa.
All right, guys, that was Peter Gillooly from The Wellness Company. We'll have the link in the show notes for you. You can check it all out. Take care. We'll see you next time.